What if I told you that in the heart of Africa, a quiet revolution is taking place, not on the battlefield, not in the halls of global politics, but in a humble workshop in Harare, Zimbabwe? A man with no university degree, no billion-dollar lab, and no corporate sponsors has dared to build something that could rewrite the future of energy as we know it. Meet Maxwell Chikumbutso, a self-taught inventor who claims to have cracked a mystery scientists said was impossible. Imagine a car that never stops to refuel, never plugs into a charger, never depends on oil, gas, or even the sun. A vehicle that draws pure usable energy directly from the invisible radio frequencies that surround us every single day. It sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? And yet Zimbabwe's own president has stood beside this man, publicly endorsing his invention, announcing that the nation is ready to launch a self-powered electric vehicle in 2025. For decades, the world has told Africa its role is to consume, not to create. That innovation must come from Silicon Valley, Europe, or Tokyo, but never from Harare. But what if those assumptions were wrong? What if the breakthrough that could topple the $7 trillion global energy industry was born not in California, but in Zimbabwe? What if a man dismissed as a dreamer ends up being the visionary who forces the world to rethink everything we thought we knew about physics, energy, and the limits of human ingenuity? So here's the question to you. Do you believe that true innovation can come from Africa? Do you believe that one self-taught inventor could hold the key to the future of clean energy? Stay with us because this is not just a story about one man or one invention. This is about Africa demanding its place at the table of global innovation and perhaps about humanity's last best chance to build a world no longer enslaved by oil, coal, and endless charging stations. Please share this video if you feel Africa deserves recognition for its genius. And don't forget to subscribe if you believe the truth is more important than the headlines. When we strip this story down to its core, it begins not with money, prestige, or access to world-class laboratories, but with a young boy in Harare who could not stop asking questions. Maxwell Chikumbutso was forced to leave formal education at just 14 years old. For millions of African children, that would have been the end of their academic dreams. But for Maxwell, it was the start of something bigger. While other children played football in the dusty streets, Maxwell was taking apart radios, studying the circuits inside, and wondering why energy had to be so expensive and so scarce in Africa. He was not interested in toys, he was interested in solutions. In a continent where more than 600 million people still live without reliable access to electricity, energy was never just a scientific puzzle to him. It was a matter of survival. By 2009, after years of experimenting in a small workshop with no modern equipment, Maxwell claimed a breakthrough. He invented what he calls the micro-energy device. On the surface, it looks like a simple box, but inside are components 70% of which he designed himself that supposedly allow ambient radio frequencies to be converted into usable electrical energy. Think about it. Radio waves are everywhere. They come from cell phone towers, Wi-Fi routers, FM stations. Scientists dismiss them as too weak, measured in tiny nanovolts far below what could ever power a machine. Yet Maxwell insists he found a way to gather those invisible streams and amplify them into something powerful enough to run a television or even a car. His first demonstration was a self-powered television. No power cord, no batteries, no solar panels. Before stunned audiences, he turned it on, and the screen came alive. Behind the TV sat the micro-energy device, quietly drawing power from the very air around it. Maxwell explained, "This is the first television in the world that uses self-power. It is a complete solution. You don't need electricity or solar, nothing." But that was just the beginning. Maxwell's real ambition was not simply to make TVs run endlessly. It was to tackle transportation, the heartbeat of modern civilization. And so came his boldest creation, a self-sustaining electric vehicle. Unlike Tesla or other automakers, Maxwell wasn't trying to build better batteries. He was trying to eliminate batteries altogether. His design integrates the micro-energy device directly into the car, enabling it to generate its own power as it moves. No charging stations, no power grids, no gasoline. The specs he announced are jaw-dropping. Unlimited driving range, no refueling, no recharging. Top speed of 220 kilometers per hour, autonomous driving features. The ability to act as a mobile generator, providing 15 kilowatts of power to a home while still functioning as a car. Imagine driving from Harare to Cape Town without stopping once for fuel or electricity. Imagine a single-family car doubling as a power station for your house. That is the vision Maxwell laid out. Zimbabwe's own president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, has not only endorsed Maxwell's work, but announced the launch of the first production model called the Sieth EV, scheduled for February 10, 2025. In a continent where imports dominate and manufacturing often lags, this announcement alone was historic. The head of state was telling the world Zimbabweans are capable of spearheading game-changing innovations that challenge the world's traditional ways of doing things. It is worth pausing here, because whether one believes in Maxwell's claims or not, the scale of what is being promised is enormous. If this car performs as he says, it doesn't just compete with Tesla, it renders Tesla's entire business model obsolete. It doesn't just threaten the oil industry, it rewrites the very logic of the global energy market. And it doesn't just inspire Zimbabwe, it forces the entire world to ask whether Africa has just produced the most disruptive inventor of the 21st century. This, then, is the central event, a humble self-taught inventor unveiling a machine that challenges physics itself, endorsed by his nation's president and set for public release. It is no longer a quiet workshop experiment. It is a bold declaration that Africa may be the stage for the next technological revolution. If the first chapter of Maxwell Chikumbutso's journey was invention, then the second was confrontation with science, with industry, and even with forces that seemed determined to silence him. The moment Maxwell unveiled his self-powered electric vehicle, the stakes changed. Up until then, a television that ran without power cords might have seemed like a fascinating party trick, but a machine that could render gas stations, charging stations, and entire energy infrastructures obsolete, that was a declaration of war against a $7 trillion global industry. The comparisons to Tesla came immediately. Elon Musk's empire rests on the dream of better batteries, denser storage, and wider charging networks. But Maxwell's invention threatened to leapfrog all of it. No batteries, no charging stations, just perpetual energy drawn from the air. If true, Tesla's crown jewel innovation would become irrelevant overnight. But it wasn't just Tesla. Oil giants who have dominated the global economy for more than a century suddenly faced the prospect of irrelevance. Imagine ExxonMobil, BP, and Saudi Aramco confronted by a Zimbabwean inventor who claimed he could make gasoline unnecessary. That is the scale of the disruption Maxwell was proposing. And then came the backlash. Scientific institutions scoffed at his claims. They pointed to the laws of thermodynamics, the bedrock of physics, which say energy cannot be created out of nothing. What he proposes is impossible, critics declared. Patent offices around the world refused to approve his technology, citing that it violates natural laws. It was a catch-22. If it works, then it breaks the rules. But because it breaks the rules, the system won't even consider protecting it. Maxwell did not back down. Yes, it works, he insisted, but we must rethink everything. We must dismantle everything we thought we knew and start fresh. These were not the words of a man intimidated by skepticism, they were the words of a man daring the world to keep up with him. But resistance was not only intellectual, it turned deadly. In January 2017, Maxwell and his research partner Dr. Teddy were allegedly poisoned. Maxwell survived. Dr. Teddy did not. We were poisoned at that time, Maxwell recalls. Dr. Teddy didn't make it. He died in January 2017. I survived by the grace of God. The tragedy added a shadow of danger to his journey, raising the question, were powerful interests trying to eliminate him? After all, history is full of stories of inventors whose disruptive technologies mysteriously vanished. And yet Maxwell kept going. He continued building prototypes, showcasing his devices, and pushing toward commercialization. He announced that buyers from the Democratic Republic of Congo had already purchased smaller machines. He insisted his factory in Zimbabwe was ready to handle sales. Far from retreating, he doubled down. At the same time, offers began pouring in. American investors reportedly offered him multi-million-dollar deals to move his work to the United States. Imagine the temptation, money, recognition, global platforms. But Maxwell turned them down. He made it clear that he would not allow his invention to be swallowed by foreign corporations or taken out of Africa. For him, the dream was not just about technology, it was about sovereignty. If this is truly a gift, he reasoned it should bless Africa first. Meanwhile, the Zimbabwean government leaned in harder. President Emmerson Mnangagwa publicly praised Maxwell, declaring that Zimbabweans were capable of pioneering world-changing innovations. Plans for the Seath EV launch were laid. For the first time in history, the announcement of a car from Zimbabwe made international headlines and the world. The response was mixed. Some hailed Maxwell as a visionary who could free humanity from fossil fuels. Others dismissed him as a fraud. International corporations remained silent, cautious not to validate claims that could destabilize entire markets. Major scientific institutions refrained from outright endorsement, preferring to watch from the sidelines. But one thing was clear: no one could ignore him anymore. This was the climax, a humble inventor standing against disbelief, corporate empires, and even mortal threats, insisting that Africa itself could lead the next technological revolution. Whether genius or dreamer, he had forced the world to look again at Zimbabwe not with pity, but with awe and suspicion. The invention of a self-sustaining energy device is not just a technical breakthrough, it is a political earthquake. In Zimbabwe, the civil and political consequences of Maxwell Chikumbutso's work are already being felt. For ordinary citizens, the promise is nothing short of life-changing. In a country where blackouts and unreliable power grids are part of daily reality, the idea of a car that doubles as a household generator feels like a miracle. Imagine a family in rural Zimbabwe, miles from the nearest electrical line, suddenly able to power lights, charge devices, and even run appliances, all because their vehicle itself produces energy. For millions who live in energy poverty, this technology is more than convenience. It represents dignity, opportunity, and freedom. The ripple effects extend across society. Schools that cannot operate after dark could suddenly have reliable electricity. Hospitals in remote villages could power critical equipment without waiting for expensive fuel deliveries. Farmers could irrigate their crops using pumps powered by cars rather than diesel. In every corner of daily life, the potential impact is profound. But on the political stage, the implications are even larger. For Zimbabwe's government, this invention offers something more powerful than energy. It offers legitimacy. President Emmerson Mnangagwa, often criticized for economic struggles and political repression, now stands before his people as the leader who championed a world-first technology. By endorsing Maxwell, he shifts the narrative from crisis to innovation, from dependence on foreign aid to homegrown genius. The February 2025 launch of the Seath EV is not just about a car, it is a symbolic act of national pride. This symbolism also resonates far beyond Zimbabwe. For decades, Africa has been painted as dependent on outside technology. Maxwell's invention flips that story on its head. Suddenly, it is Africa presenting a solution the rest of the world cannot ignore. Politically, this redefines Zimbabwe's place in global discourse. A nation long dismissed as a troubled state is now daring to claim the mantle of technological leadership. Yet with opportunity comes danger. If the technology proves real, Zimbabwe could face enormous pressure from global powers and corporations who have everything to lose. Energy giants might lobby to suppress or control it. Foreign governments could attempt to acquire the patents or block them. For a small African nation, protecting such a disruptive breakthrough is a daunting challenge. History offers too many examples of African resources, whether gold, diamonds, or oil, being exploited by outsiders. Maxwell's device, if successful, could become the most valuable resource of them all. Domestically, the stakes are also high. A technology this radical could shift political alliances, strengthen national unity, or spark fierce competition for control. If managed transparently, it could fuel national development. If mishandled, it could invite corruption, power struggles, and even violence. Some Zimbabweans already whisper about the risks. Will this be another gift stolen, or will it finally be the one that empowers Africa? What cannot be denied is the profound civil and political consequence of Maxwell's invention. For ordinary families, it offers hope. For the government, it offers legitimacy. For Africa, it offers proof that innovation can be born in Harare just as easily as in Silicon Valley. And for the world, it is a warning: the age of Africa as a passive consumer of technology may be over. From Washington to Beijing, from Silicon Valley to Riyadh, the story of Maxwell Chikumbutso has sparked whispers in boardrooms and laboratories alike. If his claims are true, the global order of energy and technology faces a disruption more profound than anything seen in a century. Let's begin with the United States. For decades, America has prided itself on being the cradle of innovation. Tesla, SpaceX, Apple. These names symbolize the cutting edge. But Here stands a man in Harare without formal degrees or billion-dollar labs claiming to have solved what American scientists declared impossible. For companies like Tesla, the threat is existential. Their entire empire is built on battery storage and the charging infrastructure required to support it. A vehicle that never needs to charge would erase that business model overnight. Investors know it, policymakers know it, and that's why offers from American investors rush toward Maxwell almost immediately. Yet his refusal to sell, his insistence on keeping the technology rooted in Africa, is a direct challenge to U.S. dominance in the innovation economy. Then there are the oil-producing nations. Imagine Saudi Arabia or Russia facing a future where oil is no longer the lifeblood of the global economy. The balance of power shifts instantly. Wars have been fought over oil, alliances built and broken on its price. If vehicles and homes no longer need fossil fuels, then entire geopolitical strategies collapse. It's no wonder that stories of threats, even poisoning attempts, surround Maxwell's journey. The stakes are that high. In Europe, where governments are pouring billions into renewable energy and electric infrastructure, Maxwell's technology raises uncomfortable questions. What if years of investment in solar farms, wind turbines, and charging grids are rendered obsolete by a small device that captures radio frequencies? For countries leading the green transition, this could either accelerate their goals or embarrass them for overlooking African innovation. And what about China? Beijing has aggressively positioned itself as the world's leader in electric vehicles and battery production. If Maxwell's invention bypasses the need for those batteries, then China's carefully constructed dominance is under threat. Yet China also has the resources and political will to adapt quickly. For Beijing, Africa has long been a partner in infrastructure and mining. Supporting Maxwell or controlling his invention could be a strategic opportunity. For the scientific community worldwide, Maxwell's claims cut even deeper. They don't just disrupt industries, they disrupt the very laws of physics. If his micro-energy device truly works, it challenges the first and second laws of thermodynamics. That would mean rewriting textbooks, revising our understanding of energy itself, and admitting that a self-taught Zimbabwean inventor cracked a code generations of physicists could not. This is perhaps the hardest pill for the world to swallow, that genius might bloom in a place the global system never expected. But beyond economics and science, the global reaction touches something more profound: pride. For centuries, Africa has been portrayed as a continent of extraction, not innovation. Maxwell's story forces the world to reconsider that narrative. Whether skeptics or supporters, no one can ignore that a man from Harare has put Zimbabwe on the map in a way oil, gold, and diamonds never did, through the possibility of rewriting the future of energy. As we come to the end of this remarkable story, one truth stands clear: whether Maxwell Chikumbutso is ultimately remembered as a genius ahead of his time or as a dreamer who defied convention, his journey has already changed the conversation. He has forced the world to look at Africa differently, not as a continent waiting for solutions, but as a birthplace of revolutionary ideas that could alter the course of humanity. But let us be honest, the road ahead is dangerous. Trillions of dollars in oil, electricity, and battery industries are on the line. Powerful interests will not stand idle while their empires are threatened. History is full of inventors whose breakthroughs disappeared under mysterious circumstances, buried by those who feared change. And Maxwell himself has already faced tragedy, surviving a poisoning attempt that took the life of his closest collaborator. If his technology is real, then the fight has only just begun. For ordinary people, the promise is breathtaking. Imagine a world where no child studies by candlelight, where no hospital loses power mid-surgery, where no farmer watches crops wither for lack of diesel fuel. Imagine cities that no longer choke on smog, families that no longer spend half their income on electricity, and nations that no longer bend their knees to foreign oil barons. That is what is at stake. Yet this is bigger than Zimbabwe. This is about Africa claiming the right to lead, to innovate, to protect its own genius from being stolen or silenced. If Maxwell succeeds, he will not just have built a car or a device, he will have built a new narrative of African sovereignty. And that narrative will inspire millions from Harare to Lagos, from Johannesburg to Cairo, and far beyond the continent. So now the question turns to you. Do you believe Africa can truly lead the next technological revolution? Do you think that Maxwell's invention is a fraud? Or could it be the disruptive breakthrough that forces the world to rewrite its laws of physics and its balance of power? And perhaps most urgently, if this technology is real, will the world allow it to survive? Please share this video if you believe Africa deserves to be recognized as the birthplace of the next great revolution. Subscribe if you believe the truth is more important than the headlines. And tell us in the comments, would you trust a self-powered car built in Zimbabwe, or do you think the world is not ready for what Maxwell Chikumbutso has created? Because whether we are ready or not, the future may already be here, born not in Silicon Valley, but in the heart of Africa.